Coming up on Business Incorporated. Mobile money transactions jump, with sub-Saharan Africa adding 60% to global transactions. Fuel shortages hit Kenya's government delays subsidy payments. Data from CAPMA shows Egypt's exports to Italy rose by 91% in 2021. Great to have you join us on Business Incorporated. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's kick off with market numbers at intraday. First port of call is from the African continent. Major markets were mostly negative at intraday. Here in Nigeria, the NGX was lower by 0.29%. Further away from the 47,000 level, while in South Africa, GSE was up by 0.59%. In Egypt, the EGX30 fell by 0.24% at intraday, while Kenya closed positive on Friday, up 0.22%. And over to the Middle East. Now it's mostly mixed at intraday. In the UAE, the Abu Dhabi index rose by 1.29%, while Dubai's main index dropped 0.47%. Elsewhere in the region, Saudi Arabia's index was unchanged, while the Qatari index gained 0.37% at intraday. All right, now let's head on to Europe, where there's new developments following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We see pictures of mass graves and bodies lining the streets on the outskirts of Kyiv, causing outrage among many Western leaders, many accusing Russia of war crimes. Let's get an update from Chris Kober right there in Berlin. Great to have you, Chris. So now the European Union is preparing further sanctions against Moscow. What do these sanctions look like?
Well, it would be the EU's fifth round of sanctions against Moscow, and it could include measures targeting Russian individuals, more Russian individuals, as well as a ban on Russian ships using EU ports. Now, according to diplomats, EU ambassadors are expected to discuss the measures on Wednesday. Existing EU sanctions include banning 7 Russian banks from the global SWIFT payments network, a block on exports of key technologies to Russia, including for the defense, energy, telecoms, and aviation sectors, a ban on Russian airlines from its airspace, and asset freezes against hundreds of Russian oligarchs and officials, including the country's leader, Vladimir Putin. Now, talks about further punitive measures against Moscow increased after reports of atrocities emerged in the wake of Russia's military retreat from the outskirts of Kiev. Ukrainian authorities said they were investigating possible war crimes by Russia after finding hundreds of bodies, some bound and shot at close range, scattered around towns near the capital. Russia is denying the accusations of murdering civilians, describing the claims a provocation designed to disrupt peace talks between Moscow and Kiev.
Quite interesting. But, calls for the sanctions to target Russian energy exports have grown louder. Now, Germany's defense minister said a complete ban on Russian gas imports must be discussed. Will it come to that?
Well, it hasn't been likely so far, but the ground seems to be shifting. The German government has been fiercely opposing an embargo, particularly of Russian gas, which the country's economy is heavily depending on. Now, over the weekend, the country's economy minister, Robert Habeck, once again said Germany is trying to make itself independent from Russian energy deliveries, albeit not instantly. Economists had been warning of a shock to the German economy should energy deliveries from Russia be halted with immediate effect. Now, the economy minister also said that rather than boycotting Russian oil and gas, it was important to secure energy infrastructure that in many cases so far belongs to Russian firms like Gazprom or Rosneft. Now, these facilities needed to be shielded from Russian arbitrariness, the minister said, in order to provide energy security not only for Germany, but also to neighboring Poland. But the pressure is indeed growing within the entire European Union. Poland's prime minister saying Germany's stance is the main roadblock when it comes to imposing tougher sanctions on Russia. France's President Emmanuel Macron, in the midst of a re-election campaign, said fresh EU sanctions needed to target Russian coal and petrol. Mr. Macron also saying that there are very clear clues pointing to war crimes in Ukraine and that the Russian army appears to be responsible. Italy is also heavily reliant on deliveries of Russian gas, and there the chief of the center-left Democratic Party, which is the junior partner in Prime Minister Draghi's National Unity Government, is calling for a, quote, full oil and gas embargo. Meanwhile, Lithuania said it was the first in the EU to stop gas imports from Moscow, calling on other members of the bloc to pull the plug as well and not be an accomplice by financing Russia's war through oil and gas payments.
All right, but how are first talks of Russia's sanctions impacting financial markets?
Now, there's serious concern among investors in Germany over a possible stop of Russian gas deliveries. Some business groups warning such a move could grow into a conflagration for the German economy. And even if the energy sector should be spared for now, further EU sanctions against Moscow aren't lifting the broad mood on the trading floor. Germany's blue chips index DAX starting the week lower and losing about 0.5% an hour into Monday's trading session.
All right, we'll see how markets close today. That's Chris Kober right there in Berlin. Thank you so much, Chris. Well, let's move on now. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index led gains among the major Asia-Pacific markets today as Chinese tech stocks in the city jumped. The Hang Seng Index gained 2.1% to close at 22,502 points, and shares of Tencent surged 2.96%. Other Chinese tech stocks also rose. Alibaba was up 3.65%, while NetEase soared 6.62%. Markets in mainland China closed Monday and Tuesday this week for holidays. The Nikkei 225 in Japan swung between positive and negative territory, trading before closing 0.25% higher at 27,736 points. The Topix index climbed 0.48% to 1,953 points, while South Korea's Kospi climbed 0.66% on the day to 2,757 points. Elsewhere in Australia, the S&P ASX 200 rose 0.27%, closing at 7,513 points. And U.S. stock index futures were mostly flat today as traders monitor the bond market's warning signals about the economy. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average traded marginally higher. S&P 500 futures were up about 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 advanced 0.3%. Twitter shares surged more than 25% after the SEC filings revealed Elon Musk purchased a more than 9% passive stake in the social media company. Comes less than a week after Musk polled his followers, questioning whether the social media giant follows free speech principles. Based on Twitter's closing price, the stake is worth $2.89 billion. All right, now to our next conversation. Recent report by Chain Analysis, a blockchain platform, found out between July 2020 and June 2021, Africans received $105.6 billion worth of cryptocurrency payments. It's an increase of 1,200% from the year before, and notably, Chain Analysis ranks Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria among the top 10 countries for cryptocurrency use. Well, to discuss it, we have Zacchaeus Kombo, who works on Kenya lead right there in Kenya. Great to have you on the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ladi, for bringing me in.
Thank you.
So grateful to have this opportunity with you.
Yeah, great to have you. Well, you know, Africa is getting heavily involved with, you know, crypto payments, you know, from this data. How are crypto companies being received where you are?
If you look at really in 3 to 5 years, the increase of crypto as adoption has been on a high level. Looking at some of the African countries like Nigeria that has legalized cryptocurrency. Kenya, just some few weeks, it's in the context of recently Central Bank of Kenya expressed its intention to develop and roll out the central bank digital currency. And if you look at it, is that we Africans, we are getting into it and very much adapting to the system.
All right, and we know governments, mostly don't like the decentralized, nature of cryptocurrency. But for you, what kind of policies would you like to see from governments regarding cryptocurrency?
The policies maybe I might want them, maybe them to have, first of all, they have to do the research. They have to involve the researchers to look at how they can go about the cryptocurrency, because they say if you can't beat them, join them, because crypto is right now is the future currency, and most of the African countries were against it, but right now to the level that it has reached, every country is getting to it. Kenya, they have given us a chance to contribute to the contribution of how the currency will be involved in the central in our country. And 30th of next on 20th of next month will be the last time for Kenyans to contribute on it, and it will be being rolled out, if possible, at the end of this year.
Yeah, and obviously we can't deny that the market is quite, risky. How do you advise, Africans to navigate that industry?
Yeah, true. Anything good, it has to have other things coming up. And you see, people are there who are able to exploit the good thing that is on the market. Cryptocurrency, if you look at it, is the best thing, and the transaction is more easy. And you can do the transaction of a large amount of money. And so far, you find that the government might be against it, but because of the level that it has reached, in Kenya mostly, it's being used in Africa right now. If you look at in Africa, most of the countries are using it. As you look at Waxon in Kenya, it's working out, and it's really being the lead of Waxon in Kenya. It's working out on every part of this country now.
Quite interesting. But what's your outlook for, crypto usage for 2022 in Africa?
Wow, it will be very wonderful, Larry, because if you look at crypto right now, everybody is venturing into crypto, and trading and forex is making people rich. Young guys and men are joining the crypto because of the trading and forex, and you find that people are changing their life drastically. So it's a good thing. And in 2022, if we look at it, maybe to my own level, I think, or my assessment, most of the countries, they'll have legalized cryptocurrency.
Right. Well, Zacchaeus Kombo, well, I guess some are in it for the money and some for the tech. All right. Thank you so much, Zacchaeus Kombo, works on Kenny. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Saban Landy. I'm so humbled for having me on this.
Thank you. All right, now let's see what's happening in the oil market. We see oil prices inch higher today as worries about tight supply persisted, even as investors eye the release of supplies from strategic reserves from consuming nations, and a truce in Yemen sparked hopes that supply issues in the Middle East could abate. Brent crude futures up 9 cents to $104.48 a barrel. While the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $99.30 a barrel, losing that $100 mark. Both contracts slipped $1 when markets opened today. United Nations brokered a 2-month truce between Saudi-led coalition and the Houthi group aligned with Iran for the first time in the 7-year conflict. Saudi oil facilities have come under attack by the Houthis during the conflict, adding to supply disruptions from Russia. And gold prices were steady today as the dollar and treasury yields firmed following the solid U.S. payrolls report that raised expectations of aggressive rate hikes, while the worsening Ukraine crisis supported safe haven bids for the bullion. Spot gold was little changed at $1,925 per ounce. U.S. gold futures was up 0.3% to $1,929. A stronger dollar makes gold less attractive for other currency holders, while the higher yields increase the opportunity cost of holding a non-paying bullion. The dollar made a firm start to the week, while treasury yields were also higher as the monthly U.S. jobs report indicated a stronger labor market is likely to keep Federal Reserves on track to maintain its hawkish policy stance. All right, after the break, we'll get more stories on the African continent. Do stay with us. This is Business Incorporated. Welcome back. While mobile money has become very important in sub-Saharan Africa, offering over 1 billion people access to a formal economy and driving financial inclusion, according to GSMA, sub-Saharan Africa made up over 60% of global mobile money transaction value in 2021, growing by about 40% year on year. For analysis now, we have Ayobami Omole, a telecoms analyst at Telema. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me, Ladi. Great to be on the program.
Yeah, quite an impressive jump in 2021 for mobile money transaction. What do you think drove this?
Yes, so quite impressive, really. Global mobile money transaction value grew by like 30%. And focusing on Africa, really, Africa makes up about 70% of global mobile money transaction value. And when you dissect Africa into, the different regions, we have East Africa and West Africa contributing about 64% of mobile money transaction value, and about 90% of of Africa's mobile money transaction value, really. And I mean, to know what is driving it, it would be important to also understand what is going on in this region. Mobile money is very telco-led. Most of the mobile money operators in this region, in East Africa and West Africa, are telco operators. And with that, it means that there's a strong network effect. So anybody with a SIM card can use the mobile money services. And that means that, more people are using it and more people are being incentivized to use it since, people are using it anyway. And apart from that, we've seen strong product design. The product keeps getting better and better. And there's been a lot of partnership and interoperability. By partnership, I mean, fintechs are now partnering with mobile money operators. In the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen Flutterwave, partner with Airtel Money, partner with MTN Momo, partner with Safaricom, M-Pesa. And, those type of partnerships are definitely going to drive transaction value and volume. Elsewhere, by interoperability, I mean, users using different mobile money operators being able to send money or transact between each other. So an Airtel Money user being able to transact with a Safaricom M-Pesa user. So developments like this and different layers of products like access to credit, insurance services, and so on and so forth, I think is very much responsible for the growth that we've experienced in these two regions that have contributed to global mobile money growth. Yeah.
Right. But what does this, tell us about financial inclusion in Africa?
So, I mean, what it tells us about financial inclusion in Africa is, I think that we've known this for a while, that we might not go through, the regular means trying to increase bank branches and so on and so forth. And that mobile money can be a very important tool to expand financial inclusion. We saw evidence of that in Kenya, where mobile financial inclusion rate was below 40%, now is above 80%. We've seen the same thing, happening in places like Ghana. So it can be a very important tool to drive financial inclusion across the continent as a whole.
Right, but despite the huge success of mobile money services in many countries, the sustainability of mobile money services, is threatened, by certain policy and regulatory interventions. We're seeing Ghana there hike the price of e-transactions.
Yeah, you're right. So in the past year or two, we've seen a lot of countries introduce e-levy taxes on mobile money. So the most recent one, of course, is Ghana, which introduced 1.5% e-levy. Earlier this year was Cameroon, 0.2%. Late last year it was Tanzania that introduced about 100 shilling to 10,000 shilling on transaction, although they later reduced it. But yeah, it's been a trend with a lot of countries introducing taxes on mobile money. But I see it in two ways. So first of all is that a lot of these countries are in their economic situation and they are trying to reduce their fiscal deficit. So it's a good way to tax the informal sector and, widen the tax net. But at the same time, there has to be balance. They need to be careful to make sure that, it's not counterproductive in the sense that there's a cash-light ambition, there's, a financial inclusion ambition, and introducing taxes as high as 1.5% can be very dangerous for those ambitions. Also, it can also, deter people from using mobile money services and just reverting to using cash, and the whole purpose of taxing it and being able to generate more revenue for the government might be defeated. But yeah, I do see some sense to it in the sense that, of course, being able to manage fiscal deficits and expand tax brackets.
All right, but I was talking to Zacchaeus Combo then. We talked about how cryptocurrency transactions also increased in 2021 for Africa. But is this a threat to mobile money?
No. I do not think that it's a threat to mobile money. So first thing first is to consider a few factors. In terms of transaction cost, is crypto really is crypto really able to compete with mobile money in terms of transaction costs? It's debatable, right? At the moment, a lot of the networks or blockchain network is still very expensive in terms of gas fee, transaction fees, and people are still building different sort of, solutions, layer 2 solutions to make sure that they're able to manage this particular problem. So there's still a long way to go. It has to be very affordable for everyone to adopt it. Secondly, we need to consider why mobile money is very popular in the places I stated earlier, East Africa and West Africa. And it's because, mobile money is very accessible. Anybody without a smartphone can use mobile money as long as you have a regular mobile phone, a regular feature phone, you can access mobile money. With crypto, it's not like that. You need access to the internet. And in Africa, internet usage gap is still about 50%. Only about 64% of total mobile connection is internet connection at the moment. So there's still a number of people that are excluded from, the digital or internet economy in that sense. And you need access to internet to be able to access crypto. Thirdly, or furthermore, the usability of crypto, even with people that have access to internet, is still not straightforward. I cannot go to the market to use crypto and buy food stuff, right? Because it's not generally accepted here. There's still a lot of hurdles to cross in terms of people being aware of it, people accepting it and using it. There's a lot of volatility that doesn't make it a sustainable or reasonable method of transaction, right? Lastly, and I think which is one of the most important issues to also consider, which you mentioned earlier, is regulation. So mobile money is regulation backed, crypto not so much. There's still a lot of conversation around regulation. Government, monetary authorities trying to choose a side and trying to see what way to go about it. Central banks introducing their own central bank digital currency because they wouldn't want different independent cryptos to gain popularity or dominance in the economy. So unless we cross the regulatory order, I'm afraid that I don't think that crypto is a threat to mobile money. But what I do say is that, or what I'll say is that in Africa, for instance, we still have a lot of problems. Transaction payments is not smooth in country, and cross-border payments is not smooth. So there's a lot of room for birds to fly, various birds to fly. And it will be interesting to see how there's collaboration and partnership in the future to make sure that everything is smooth and seamless.
Yeah, so many hurdles there for crypto to climb at this point. Thank you so much, Ayobami Omole, telecoms analyst at Telema. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Ladi. Bye.
All right, now let's look at other stories on the African continent. We see queues at gas stations in Kenya grew longer over the weekend as delayed payments for subsidies meant to stabilize fuel prices led to gasoline shortages across the East African nation. The government was yet to pay about 13 billion shillings, it's about $113 million, to oil marketing companies to keep prices from rising further. The cost of gasoline already at the highest in a decade. The government said there's a sufficient stock of fuel in the country, attributed the shortage to panic buying to some companies' curbed supply last week. Petroleum and Mining Principal Secretary says the funds, which will be drawn from the exchequer, are being audited and will be paid shortly. And Egypt's exports to Italy rose by 91.4% in 2021, bringing in nearly $2.8 billion, up from $1.5 billion in 2020. That's according to the country's Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics. However, Egypt's imports from the European country declined by 1.2% to $2.97 billion in 2021, down from $3 billion in the previous year. The trade exchange between Egypt and Italy hit $5.8 billion in 2021 compared to $4.5 billion in 2020, achieving an increase of 29%. Well, main exports to Italy from Egypt include mineral fuels, distillation products, aluminium, iron, and steel, among others. For the campus statistics, Italian investment in Egypt rose by 40.3% to $448.8 million during the first quarter of financial year 2021-2022. All right, so that's it on Business Incorporated. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.